defining the function, and the second one is calling the function. First we will learn how to define a function, then we will learn how to call a function. Yesterday I have told you the syntax of defining a function. Today I will tell you how to call a function. Whenever we call a function, whenever we wish to call a function, we have to just give the name of the function and you have to give along with it open and close brackets, that is you have to give parentheses. And inside the parentheses you should give the function. Okay. Now after this, you write down the hash include statement. After that, write main. As usual, the main function is always going to be there. Okay. Now what I'll do? I'll calculate the product. Product is equal to, how do we calculate the product? We have to multiply x and y. So product is equal to x into y. Our calculation is over. There's nothing more to do. Now you want to return the value back. Whatever the function has done, you want to return it. So what will you write here? Return into bracket the name of your variable, which is pro, that is product. Finish the function. This is the beginning of the function. This is the end of the function. Written? Everybody is written? Now if you look at the program, we have made it lengthy actually. Same thing I would have done here and my task would have been over. I am trying to teach you how to find the product of two numbers using function. So even if it is lengthy, we have to do it. If I wouldn't have used the function, in one statement here itself I would have calculated and directly displayed, which we have done. Small programs we have done now, directly we have done. It's the same thing I am trying to show you using function, so it has become a little lengthy, but it is not difficult. You just have to pay attention and understand how it will go. Everybody has finished writing? Now see, when your program starts working, first statement will be a comment. It is telling you that we are finding the product of two numbers using function. We include a header file called stdio.h. It gets linked to the main. In the main, there are a few variables. Which are those variables? A, B and C. A will store the first number, B will store the second number and C will store the product. Okay? So inside the computer's memory, a variable called A will get created, another variable called B and one more variable called P will get created. Now using a printf statement, printf will display a message on the screen. So what is the message that you want to display? Enter two numbers. Whatever user enters, that you will read it using scanf. First number will be assigned to A, second number will be assigned to B. Suppose you enter the two numbers as 3 and 4. 3 will be stored in A, 4 will be stored in B. So value of A becomes 3, value of B becomes 4. Okay? Now we have to calculate its product using a function. So when we want to calculate any value using a function, you have to call a function. In order to call a function, there are two things. On the left hand side, you will use a variable, then you will use equal to. On the right hand side of equal to, you will give the name of the function. What is the name of my function? Product. So you can see the name of the function is product. Okay? And to this I am passing two values. How do I indicate that it's a function? With the help of brackets. Which are the two values that I am passing? A and B. At this point, main will stop working and the control gets transferred to this function known as product. So this will get suspended, this will become inactive, main will become inactive, and what will get activated is this function. When the function gets activated, value of A gets passed to X and value of B is passed to 1. So right now what's the value of A? 3. What's the value of B? 4. 3 is passed to X and 4 is passed to 1. Now your function will start working. Here X will be created, it will become 3. I'll write it here. X will be created, it becomes 3. Y will be created, it becomes 4. Okay? So we have the value of X, we have the value of Y, it gets passed, A and B gets passed. Now we calculate the product. I have created a variable called as pro, which is empty. I say pro is equal to X into Y. You all can see what's the value of X now? 3. What's the value of Y? 4. 3 into 4, answer will be 12. So pro becomes 12. Now we calculated the answer, but store. 3 gets stored in x, 4 gets stored in y. So value of x becomes 3, value of y becomes 4. Now this will not execute, this will start executing. So when it starts executing, we have created a local variable called pro. Now we do the calculation. Pro is equal to x into y. Answer is 12. It is calculated. We want to return it back. In order to return it back, we make use of the return statement. We give the name of the variable that we want to return. When the value gets If they have come from some flood affected area in Assam, they say God only knows. Don't ever pay any money to